Hi friends, welcome back. I'm Jen, single mom, artist, and entrepreneur, and this channel is all about building a life that you love. Now, today I want to talk about marketing your art. Most of the artists that I know personally do not have business and marketing backgrounds of any kind, and trying to find an audience for your work and then sell your work to that audience is hard. There are a lot of artists out there, and we are all looking for our little piece of the pie. So today let's talk about some of the challenges and how to overcome them. Plus, let's also talk about some of the opportunities that are out there for marketing art. One of those challenges is just the sheer number of artists out in the world. So one of our first priorities as an artist and one of our first challenges is to figure out how to stand out in that market. How are you different from everybody else? What makes your artwork different from everyone else? What makes you special and different from other people? And who resonates most with your work? And then lastly, how do you find them? That's a giant challenge. Maybe you're an illustrator and you draw cute little animals. So your audience could be tweens, teens, and early 20-year-olds. Your audience could be those who are fans of Disney. Your audience could be anime fans. Your audience could even be moms of littles. And maybe your audience is all of those people. Maybe all of those people resonate with your work. Maybe none of them do. Start by figuring out who likes your work, who buys your work, more importantly, because one audience may love your work, but if they aren't buying it, they're not really the people you want to be marketing to. If another audience is buying your work, that's the audience that you want to focus on. That's the audience you want to target. In my case, I have several audiences. One of my audiences is people looking for gifts. A lot of my items, especially my smaller sun catchers, are very, very giftable. So people looking to buy gifts specifically for women tend to be one of my audiences. Another one of my audiences is, believe it or not, Gen Zers. They seem to really resonate with what I make, and they just seem to like my stuff. Millennials also seem to really like my stuff. My audience is definitely women over men. I sell much less to men than I do to women. And I know all of that because most of my sales happen in person. Up until this point, my primary sales channels has been at art markets. So I am face to face with my clients all the time. So I know who buys from me and who doesn't. Finding your audience is trick number one. So figuring out what makes you stand out and who that attracts is your number one goal. Another challenge can be financial. A lot of artists are working on a shoestring budget, and traditional advertising opportunities are expensive. So, to minimize those financial problems that come along with trying to find ways to market, I have a couple of tips. One is to see if there's someone you can collaborate with to minimize costs. Is there another artist that you can share advertising with or have a joint show with? Collaborating with others can mean that you get more bang for your buck and you upcycle previously used goods in your work. Art supplies are incredibly expensive, and anybody who uses them knows that, right? Even paint has gotten incredibly expensive, especially higher pigmented paints like reds and oranges and yellows. Obviously, my medium is glass, but I know for a fact that glass has gone up substantially in cost the last few years. So anytime you can reuse something else in your work, you're saving some money on that. Can you order your supplies in bulk and split the cost with another artist? That's another really great way to get a bigger bang for your buck. So if you can order a crate of canvases and split it with another artist, when you buy things in bulk, you usually save a little bit of money per item on those items. So if you can split the cost of bulk items with another artist, then you can come out a little bit ahead. Probably the biggest challenge is finding out how to balance your creativity with the actual business work that comes with being an art business. Maintaining your artistic integrity matters. It will be the driving force that sustains you long term. Don't compromise your beliefs. Don't compromise what you love and what matters to you just to get the sale, because sales are only one measure of success. And sometimes that's hard for us to remember. If our business and our business alone is what sustains us financially, it can be really, really tempting to compromise on your beliefs and your integrity just to get that sale. Don't do that. That's going to hurt you in the long term. It's going to drive away the people who are most attracted to your work. And it's going to make it harder to maintain a long-term audience. And the last and probably hardest challenge that happens with being an artist today is navigating the digital landscape effectively. There are so many social media platforms, and don't get me wrong, social media is a blessing for artists in many, many ways. But keeping up with those platforms is hard. I'll be the first person to say that I drop the ball on almost a weekly basis when it comes to my social media. I don't post nearly as much as I should, and I know that. And part of it's just because I'm juggling too many different channels. So my tip number one is don't juggle too many channels. Pick 2, 3 max that are the most effective for you and concentrate your efforts there. For me personally, my YouTube channel is my number 1. I would say TikTok is number 2 and Instagram is number 3. And I probably should do a much better job of maintaining both my TikTok and my Instagram than I currently do. Also, don't get bogged down by scrolling through social media. Get on, do what you need to do, and get back off. Set a timer if you have to, so that you're reminded that you aren't supposed to just be screwing around. You're supposed to be actually marketing. And if you're not actually actively doing the work that you said you were going to do when you logged into that social media, then you're wasting your time. And social media is such a big time suck. It's so easy to end up scrolling, and all of a sudden, where did the time? All of a sudden an hour has gone by and you don't even know what you were doing on there to begin with. So stay focused, set a timer, and don't get caught up in doom scrolling. And my last tip, which is the easiest way to not get stuck doom scrolling, is to schedule your posts ahead of time. That's not an option on every platform, but it is on platforms like Facebook and Instagram for sure. I don't believe you can do that on TikTok, although maybe. You absolutely can on YouTube. I a lot of times upload my videos days in advance and schedule them to go live when I want them to. So if you can make a habit of uploading your posts ahead of time and scheduling them, then you don't even have to be on social media every day. You could literally go on once a week and schedule everything you want to post for the week. Now, I think that that's a little bit difficult as an artist, because a lot of times I want to post what I'm working on, and I can't schedule all of those posts in one day unless it occurred to me ahead of time to photograph or video the content that I'm going to use. So that is a lot easier said than done, but it's something that I strive for, and you probably should too. Now, there's a lot of really great opportunities in marketing that we should all be looking really, really hard at incorporating. One of them is social media. If you're not already using social media, you absolutely should be, because it opens you up to the possibility of a global market. You don't just have to reach people in your hometown. You can literally be reaching people anywhere in the world, and that is phenomenal and amazing for us as artists. Art isn't constrained by language barriers, so the opportunity there is really endless. We should all be considering collaborations, partnering with another artist to make a piece, to advertise, to market, to do a show, to do any kind of thing, opens you up in a lot of ways. One, to their audience. It opens them up to your audience and you up to theirs. And it also gives you a great opportunity to bring in new audiences because you're doing something new and different. Collaborations are gold, and we should all be doing more of them. And I definitely should be doing more of them. I'm guilty of this too. It's so easy to get kind of focused in on your own little world and forget that there are other people out there and we should be working with them. So I highly recommend that we all be looking harder at doing some more collaborations out in the world. In the last few years, virtual exhibitions have become a new thing where you can showcase your art out in really new and innovative spaces. And this is something that I haven't looked into a lot yet myself personally, but I know it exists, and it's something that I know I want to look at a little harder in the very near future and really consider the possibilities of. Because virtual exhibitions are not constrained by boundaries, physical boundaries. They open you up to an entire world of possibilities. So the global potential for a virtual the global potential for a virtual exhibition is absolutely astounding, and definitely something that maybe we should all be looking into. And one opportunity that we all should be taking advantage of, and that I've been trying to do more of, is content marketing, where we share the story behind the art, or the process of making the art, or the story of who we are as artists and how we came to be the artists that we are today. Any type of storytelling that we can do to engage our audiences and to really hone in that audience to understand who we are and why we make what we make just endears them more to us. And that is a really giant opportunity, and some of us are missing the boat on it. So content marketing and storytelling is really, really an amazing opportunity that we should all be putting a little more effort into. Now, I think there's also room for some really creative marketing strategies that are a little bit outside the box, some more than others, and that are going to give you some really innovative and interesting exposure that you wouldn't get otherwise. One of those is guerrilla art installations, where you go somewhere in a public space and put up a temporary art installation, knowing that it's probably going to get taken down by the city or by passersby or whatever. So don't use anything that you can't stand and never get back. But a temporary art installation that pops up out of nowhere that no one is expecting can be really interesting and entertaining. I would caution you to be respectful in how you go about that and not damage public property. That's not going to do you any favors. But I love the idea of guerrilla marketing in this way. It makes me think of a lot of gardeners. A lot of times will do what they call guerrilla gardening, where they build a seed pod with clay that they know is going to break down as soon as it rains, and they'll throw them into public spaces and just let those wildflowers grow on their own spontaneously wherever they peppered with those clay balls. This is exactly the same thing. You could place a sculpture in a public place, or hang a painting, or a piece of glass art, or whatever you do. Document the entire process and use that as part of your content marketing in your marketing strategy. I just think that that's a really, really interesting idea. As long as you're not defacing, vandalizing, or otherwise harming that public property, then you're going to bring joy, and there shouldn't be any negative repercussions. However, I'm no lawyer. Don't take that as legal advice. Check your city ordinances. Make sure that you're not going to be doing anything that's going to affect you in a legal way. Another creative strategy is to do art challenges, where you challenge your audiences, the people who follow you, to participate. Hold a sketching contest or a painting contest and judge the work of the people who follow you. That would be a really cool way to boost engagement and get people to really engage with you and your art. This idea is really interesting to me, but I do not have the technical know-how to pull it off. But that is a virtual reality experience where you can fully immerse your viewers into your work. I think that that's a really cool idea and concept. It would definitely take some technical know-how to pull off. So if you know how to do that, you're already ahead of the game. Or if you know someone that could help you with that, that would be a really, really cool and interesting strategy. Now, one thing that I think is a really great idea, and a lot of people are already doing this, is themed pop-up events, where you're combining art with a unique experience. I participate in a couple of these that are put on in my city every year. One of them is an art crawl, which is really interesting because you have the experience of seeing art that artists have made and even purchasing it, but also in getting the opportunity to participate in making several different kinds of art of your own. So those kind of themed pop-up events are a really great way to engage an audience with your art, but also get them engaged in the process of making as well, which only endears them to what you make even more. When people engage in making art, they learn to respect the process a whole lot more than they did before they understood anything about it. So I find that that's a really, really great way to market yourself, is by pop-up events that allow people to engage with you in a new way, even including making their own piece. And something I haven't tried, but that I think would be a really cool idea, is collaborations with other fields. One thing that comes to mind for me is a collaboration with someone in the science field. Science and art do blend really, really beautifully. And so I think there could be some great opportunities there. For instance, if I were a sculptor, I might look for a way to collaborate with a physicist to make kinetic art that moves on its own and never stops. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head that could be a really cool collaboration. But again, when you collaborate with other people, you get to engage with their audience and they get to engage with yours. And because you're doing something new and different, it also attracts a whole new audience. I think we as artists really have to find a way to blend traditional and new innovative strategies together to really stand out in this world and to find our place and to be successful. That is the tips that I had for today and the tips and thoughts that I had for today. I have not done all of these ideas. I haven't. But I think that a lot of them are really, really interesting and could be really, really magical if done correctly. So tell me what you think. What ideas do you have for marketing your art that you think other people could benefit from? And were there any of these ideas that you thought were really interesting and hadn't considered before that you might want to try? I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching today. It was great to see you. I'll see you next week.